Hey, this is Arthur Hill, Chief Technical Strategist at TrendInvestorPro.com. You are tuned into our YouTube channel for our weekly video analysis. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. So today we're going to look at semiconductors because the Semiconductor ETF SOXX is leading with a new high. We'll look at how to find pullbacks within strong uptrends and 3 component stocks with bullish setups. So the semiconductors have caught my eye recently, actually not just recently, because there's 2 reasons they've caught my eye. The first is they're leading. They're in a long-term uptrend and staying strong. This is the SOXX ETF, SOXX, and you can see that it hit a new high here in mid-September. So that's clearly a sign of strength. And the second thing is the S&P 500 fell around 2% over the last 6 days, and yet the SOXX was up 0.5%. It was showing strength when the broader market was weakening a little bit. S&P 500 still in an uptrend. We're still in a bull market, but SOXX is leading with that new high. And on this chart here, I've got the SOXX close indicator, my preferred trend following indicator. And you can see that it turned green bullish there in late April, and it remains bullish as long as it holds above 40. If it moves below 40, then that puts the 6-month price action in the lower half of its range, and that is enough for a downtrend for me. Now, as far as catching a move or a pullback within the uptrend, you need to use a different indicator. And I'm going to go over here to the left-hand side on the chart settings, and I'll open that up. I'm going to go ahead and remove the SOXX close. We don't need it right now because I want to focus on 2 mean reversion indicators. The first is the momentum composite, and we'll just leave that at the default settings. And then the second one is RSI. And these are a bit different, and I also use RSI a bit different than the average textbook analysis would tell you. But first of all, let's look at the momentum composite. It basically is an aggregate of 5 momentum oscillators. And I'm looking for overbought and oversold signals, mostly oversold signals when the bigger trend is up. And so when 3 of these indicators become oversold, and if you want to know which indicators are in there, I'll reopen that. You can open this to the left. This is a Trend Investor Pro Indicator Edge plugin available for Stock Charts ACP. And there are the 5 indicators: RSI, %B, SOXX close, shorter term. We have the CCI, and we have the normalized ROC. And if you want to know any more about these indicators, in the bottom right, there's a link for the plugins, and there you can find information on this plugin. So what I'm trying to do is, A, I'm trying to identify an uptrend, and I'm using SOXX close for ETFs, and B, I'm trying to identify pullbacks within that uptrend. Very straightforward strategy. It's not that complicated, and I think over time it's a prudent way to trade, invest in the market. A, in uptrends, and B, look for pullbacks within those uptrends as opportunities. And if you see here on this chart, we had this bullish signal there in late April. And then SOXX continued higher into August, September of last year, and we didn't get an oversold reading until September. So there's always a big debate. When you get a trend signal, do you jump on? Because you can see that SOXX was up pretty strongly from that March low to that April high when SOXX close turned bullish. So it was overextended, but if you'd waited for the first pullback, you would have been waiting a long time up until September. So the momentum composite hits -3. That signal's oversold. That gives you a bounce. Now you can see on this pullback, we didn't get to -3, so not quite oversold enough. And then on that pullback, In the March pullback, we had 2 readings of -3. So that was a good pullback for an opportunity. And the same with the May pullback. We had a -3 and a -5, which means all 5 indicators were oversold. Now the -3 occurred in the middle of May, so it marked the low pretty good, the -3.5 there. And then we got this bounce here. Now sometimes the momentum composite is not sensitive enough to catch oversold conditions when the trend is really strong. So you can see when this trend is really strong, we get one signal, we don't get any here. And then in this period from June to September, we didn't get any signals either. And I'm going to open up that period a little bit more. And I'm going to remove the momentum composite because what I want to focus on now is RSI. And so I'm going to open up RSI a little bit here and expand that scale. So we didn't get any momentum composite oversold conditions in this period here that were qualifying for oversold. But if you look at RSI, RSI has two oversold levels that I watch. The first is this level between 40 and 50, and that's what I call mild oversold. So you can see we get this pullback here on the price chart into mid-July. We get RSI down to around 40. That's mildly oversold, and we get a bounce. We have another dip in mid-August, and we get a mild oversold condition, and we get a bounce. And then the other oversold condition would be this level between 30 and 40 here. And that's what we got in May. And that's more in line with what we're seeing with the momentum composite. But if you see here, if we look at these pullbacks, these are a lot sharper. And the trend has actually strengthened here because the pullbacks are not as deep. And that's why you need a more sensitive indicator like RSI. This is 14-period RSI in that 40 to 50 zone alerts you to a short-term oversold condition. So semiconductors remain strong, and whenever I see an ETF that is strong, I go to the holdings and I see which holdings look strong. So let's do that. So here's the trendinvestorpro.com homepage where I've got market timing and trend momentum strategies focusing on ETFs. And on the main analysis page is where I put all of my commentaries. There's some free commentary as well. But I want to show you the ETF ranking table. So this has 128 ETFs, and I rank them by this Stoke Close indicator. And there we can see the Semiconductor ETF, SMH, is number 5 in the list, and the SOXX is number 9. So these are on my leaderboard as far as strength is concerned in my ETF universe. So check out trendinvestorpro.com if you want to learn more about our services. So when it comes to industry group ETFs like the semiconductors, I like to know the holdings and see what some of those charts look like. So I just Google SOXX ETF holdings, and that'll take you to the iShares link there. I go to the fund family to find out the most recent holdings. And here we are on that page, and you can see those holdings, and you can even download those and put them in a chart list to look at the individual stocks to see which ones have setups that you like. And so I want to look at some of those setups next. So here is Texas Instruments, and Texas Instruments was leading during this phase, October into March there, and then it started consolidating in April. And the S&P 500 continued higher during this period. So technically, Texas Instruments was underperforming when the S&P 500 was moving higher. But this was a bullish continuation pattern. This is a rest within the uptrend. After a big gain, you need to consolidate and digest those gains. That's what Texas Instruments has done, and it looks like it is breaking out right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand on this breakout here so we can see that. So RSI did dip into the 40 to 50 zone there in the middle of August, also in the latter part of July and in June as well. So those little dips happen within the consolidation and gave you a little better risk reward if you're using RSI at a time. If you use the momentum composite, didn't see any of those dips. Now, looking at some other charts that stood out, one of them was AMD. Now, this is a bit of a different setup because it is a pullback within an uptrend. So if we look here, we can see that RSI is oversold. It's in that 40 to 50 zone, mild oversold. And there it is, mildly oversold there in mid-July when we had this little pullback here. So that was a bullish pullback, like a little flag wedge. And then we had this big surge. And after a big surge, you're entitled to a corrective period. And so that's what AMD did. It basically corrected kind of a triangle consolidation. So you got a big surge. You're working it off with this triangle consolidation. And I'm marking a resistance at 108. And if we can get a breakout there, that's the first sign that we're going to get a triangle breakout and a continuation higher. Another one that I was watching was QRVO, and that is also part of the cybersecurity group. Now, it's been consolidating for quite a while here. You can see it's been flat. So you get these pullbacks and bounces, sharp pullback and a bounce, another pullback, and overall it's like one big consolidation within an uptrend because QRVO is still in an uptrend. So there's the big consolidation. We're going to focus on that in a minute. But first, I'll just show you what's going on the longer picture. I mean, this is a huge advance here. Let me turn off that. Okay, and then this is a long consolidation. Well, there's a new high there, so maybe the consolidation begins here. But the point is, it's a consolidation within an uptrend. And that means I need to have a bullish bias when going into this and looking at it. So that means I'm looking for pullbacks within the uptrend. So we get this pullback here, and we get the momentum composite to -4, -3. So that was pretty good. I'll put the pointer back on so you can see exactly. So there we are at -4, and we get a bounce. And here we move down. We get to -2, but we're stalling a little bit. And RSI is in that 40 to 50 zone, so it's mildly oversold. But I'm still interested in this. And what I see is another wedge, shorter term. So I'm getting a little bit more granular now. So we've got this kind of advance here. We've got a wedge. We're oversold, so that means we've got a potential opportunity. And there's a little resistance level. And so we're stalling, and if we can get a little breakout there, then that's the first sign that we're going to break out bigger on the bigger wedge and continue higher for QRVO. But I like it because it's in a strong group. It's got a pullback within an uptrend, and I'm looking for that little short-term upside catalyst with some type of short-term breakout. So if you'd like to know more about trendinvestorpro.com, you can click on the link in the description below. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll talk to you again next week. Have a great day.